Hello, welcome to the Valve Bounce. And as Alex Albon said, we are good, better than everyone. Let's relax. We are very comfortable. Hello, Steve.
Hey, Damo. How goes it?
Oh, we're going all right, thank you. I
That's
guess
good.
we're here. Please,
Yeah.
just no political takes, no nothing. But we're here to
No.
review the
China.
China
China.
China?
China.
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 China F1 round. How goes it?
Nice. Good, good. I reckon that was a pretty good round. I mean, maybe not for the racing, but for the result.
Yeah, it seems like a good track, and then just didn't quite like if it wasn't for some external factors, I'm not sure we would have had anything decent. The passing was terrible.
Look, I think there was some pretty good battles up and down the field, just not towards the front end. And that, I mean, I suppose we're kind of gonna have to get used to that. I think because I feel like with the top three or potentially four teams, what's going to happen is if they have the run of the mill at the front, you're not going to see so much of a tussle.
Well, that's disappointing to hear.
Oh, we started on a negative. Oh.
I know. Well, I mean, we could kick it off with some good news. Hamilton,
Oh,
Ferrari.
mate. Winner.
Boo!
Winner.
We won't mention that we forgot it was a sprint round when we were talking about it last week. Because,
What do you mean?
yeah, correct.
Play on.
But what a sensational start for Ferrari, and obviously running nice and low gives you some good pace.
Mate, maybe. But perfect result and a result that is needed for the boosting of Hamilton's not ego, but
Confidence.
just getting him up and running.
Yeah, confidence, I'd say. Yeah.
Confidence. That's the word. I'm sorry. I'm still like completely not recovered from COVID, so my brain fog is still here.
Ugh.
So if I'm talking shit, just tell me off. But no, it was awesome to see Hamilton get the pole position for one because I think
Yeah.
that was really awesome to see, and it shows. I think the whole weekend shows that he actually still has the pace to go after it. So if they get that car working and not disqualified for
Well,
varying reasons, then we'll be okay. We'll have a good season with him.
yeah, and I think that probably goes a long way, to round off the DQ stuff, is that clearly they were able to run it nice and low with lighter fuel loads in the sprint round in that race, and then really capitalised, I guess, from an aerodynamic benefit, and Hamilton looked as comfortable as ever, which was really great to see, but also a bit concerning, I think, for Charles boy. Um, But yeah, clearly then when you've got heavier fuel loads, there's something going on because people are running light, people are skid plating, you're losing their skid plates. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it was not good, and obviously having three DQs really shook up the end of that Grand Prix.
Well, it was fascinating, right? So the fact that you had two that were underweight, and I mean by underweight they were both just on a kilogram underweight.
Yep.
And then to have Hamilton just have like 4 mil, too much scrape of 4 mil. It's pretty brutal. Like there's small little things, and look, there'll be a bunch of people that will turn around and say, oh, but they know the rules and this and that. But yeah, they're all trying to run as close to that rule set as
Yeah.
possible to maximize performance. So at least they're trying. It sucks. I mean, they're
Yeah.
now behind Williams, I think, in the drivers' standings.
Which is somewhat good for and somewhat
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. So they've got a bit of work to do, but it's an interesting start to the year. As much
Yeah.
as much as the McLarens are fast, it's an interesting start to the year so far.
Yeah, it's really hard to get a good read, and we can talk about Mercedes a bit later, and I'll admit perhaps I was wrong on them, but it's
I
really
think they both were.
it's just really bizarre because you can't really get a good read. Now we're going to go to the next round is at Japan in Suzuka, and I'm not really sure like who's going to be fast or which of the mid pack is going to push forward, which ones of the top couple are going to drop down. It really feels like it hasn't quite settled in yet, and so which is good for us, I guess. Watching it, that's exciting, but it's not great for predicting any outcomes.
Well, I mean, you got teams tripping over themselves with strategy. You that midfield
Yeah,
is razor close. Like, oh, just one set up stuff up, one strategy call that we saw on the weekend.
yeah,
Can put you in points or out of points,
yeah.
and I think it's really cool, right? I just think we are going to have a really good season, even though in my heart of hearts, I think McLaren have pace in hand.
I agree.
But I still think it's going to be a good season to watch.
It is. You know what else is wrong?
What's wrong?
I've got to click this button.
What
The
button?
F1 review slide. Forgot to do
Oh,
that. So
Damo.
we've started and we're in the F1 review.
Rookie error.
Yeah, that's all right. That's okay.
To be fair, I'll give you this grace, but maybe if you stuff it a third time, we'll have to swap you out for Tsunoda.
Oh, savage.
A
Savage.
little bit.
Well, we will talk in detail about that later for sure, because that does deserve its own little piece, doesn't it? I guess the other part that sort of came out from Ferrari was how unfair and how ripped they were with the team radio. Just the way that was presented and
Yeah.
even some commentary before the actual messages got dropped in properly. Fred Vasseur was really angry, was quite upset about it. It was quite interesting because as soon as you heard the full radio coverage, so the very first message, which is the one they decided not to include, it all made perfect sense. Like they were just working it out as a team.
Yeah, quite literally. This goes back to the old Netflix thing, doesn't it? Really, where they want to control the narrative, how they want it to be perceived.
Yep.
And we all know that Lewis has, well, the way it's been portrayed previously in the other team, without anybody interrupting it, is that he whinges, but
Yep.
it kind of sounds like now it's just lots of things that are left out, and I don't know if that's entirely fair. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that he got on the blower and said, "Hey, Charles quicker than me. What do you think about a swap?" I think, like, we should be showing that as well. I mean, you can't just keep destroying drivers
Yeah.
because you want to.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like, even if they just played that first message and that only, it would have changed everything.
Everything.
And you're right that there's this kind of push for this entertainment, and it's at people's expense. And there's so much sort of talk now about it, and a lot of reporting, which is great to clarify it post the race. But at what point do they start saying, you can't do this? You're impacting our brand, you're impacting our reputations, whatever the conversation might be. I sort of feel like there's one really serious one, like there's one serious infraction away from a bit of a blow up, whether it's the drivers or the teams, etc.
Yeah, it'll get to a head, I
Yeah.
suppose, and somebody like Vasseur will step up and say, "Hey, that's not fair."
Yeah.
I think now people are more aware of it, so that'll change their perception on everything that comes through from now on, because you won't trust that what you're being delivered is accurate.
Yeah, that's
Like,
the
we
part
knew it
that's...
wasn't
Sorry, keep
accurate,
going.
but we knew it wasn't accurate, like in terms of when it was delivered, but the fact that they're actually keeping things out just to control how they want it to be perceived is, it's I don't like that so much.
Yeah, and that's the sad part. That now it is, you do lose that kind of trust factor. And it comes down to, You know, like, okay, was it intentional, or if it was just a mistake that they caught the first one and thought, oh, there's going to be a whole swap on here, so then they started grabbing him. You'd hope that if they just missed the first one in terms of presenting that on screen and to the public, that they would just come and apologise and just go, hey, we missed that first one, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But I don't think they're ever going to do that. Yeah, I kind of feel like it's the old supercars thing as well, where they don't really hold any accountability for any of their actions and just expect everybody else to do so.
Yeah, correct. Everyone else has to be. The drivers can't, behave in certain ways, but, if F1 management and FIA can kind of do what they want.
Actually, just on that,
yeah.
How good did you see Scotty Mack have a go? I can't remember the other driver's name.
Yeah,
getting it. That is classic, and this is what we want, right? Like
right,
that type of thing.
It's everywhere now, and it just shows you that's what people want. They want to see the passion. They want to see that fiery sort of nature, and no one was hurt. Other than probably the FIA and their kind of bleeding hearts about the swearing.
I don't think they run under the FIA, do they? IndyCar?
I don't think they do. do.
No, so I think they get away with murder.
Yeah,
almost.
Well, that's why we get those shows in Indy and NASCAR all the time because we don't have to kind of fit into the cardboard box.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, let's get to some good news.
Yeah.
Do you know Grilled are offering like a special with like extra chips or something if you get the Oscar burger?
Mate, I have had the Oscar burger. I had it in the lead up to the Australian Grand Prix.
Yes.
I can confirm as it goes in, it comes out.
Okay. Okay. Oscar won.
An Oscar won. And you'll be the winner too if you have that burger.
Oh, wow. Some good marketing from Grilled. I think that, getting his first pole and then when he won to sort of throw out the promotions. I get the messages from him because I'm you join up as a member to try and get some free stuff every now and then. But yeah, what a great, if you could sort of cookie cut, racecraft and calmness, like Oscar, it was cold. Your words are cold, calculated. Just executed the weekend to perfection,
mate. That is, and I don't take this lightly. That was a champion drive, and the reason I say that is no mistakes.
Yep.
Pretty much, probably could have gotten the pole in the sprint if. I don't think they quite got the tyres into the operating window they needed to, or got the strategy right in how they played that.
Yep.
But they didn't. He didn't mess it up in the actual qualifying, and he made sure that he was on. And that's to me. And I know we've watched Lando romp into the distance on occasion.
Yeah.
But what Oscar does is he just keeps a gap, and he just holds it. He doesn't overdrive the car. He just manages everybody behind. And then if he has to, he will. But otherwise, there's no need to stress car himself constantly. And I just thought it was such a good drive. And if he does that another one or two times, I think everybody will be on high alert.
Well, certainly someone in that team will be.
Lando will be crying.
Because, Lando really did struggle in that sprint and had, I think, to be honest, McLaren did a little bit too. You said Oscar missed the pole. I don't think they quite had stuff sorted. But when it came to proper qualifying in the race, Oscar nailed it. And, Lando recovered well in the end. But... Yep. Yeah, geez, it just didn't quite hit all the marks like Oscar.
No, definitely not. And I mean, I know people, he had a problem at the end, otherwise he would have caught and passed Oscar. I don't believe he would have. I don't see it. Oscar just managed it consistently.
Yeah.
And once Lando had his issue, he really didn't have to do anything. He just kept circulating.
So and I'm pretty confident that it probably just saved any papaya rules being talked about.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I don't think there should be papaya rules. Just
I know you don't. But I think it's got to work both ways, right? They told Oscar to
Yeah,
hold, and I think in that reverse situation, if there was no brake issue, that if Lando continued to advance, that the right thing based on the team dynamics that they and the rules they've kind of shown so far, that it
yeah,
would be a hold, you know?
yeah. I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. There should be the same. If you're going to ask one to hold, then you ask the other to hold. But ultimately, we want to see a championship fight, and I want to see the best guy win on the day. If that happens to be Lando, well, it'll annoy me, but kudos to him if it is. But
Yeah.
in this particular race, anyway, I don't think he really had an answer. I know he thinks he did, but I don't actually think he did.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, it's just like that, that confidence thing. You keep telling yourself something that hopefully you can believe it, I think. But, it really does.
Savage.
It really does put Oscar in that serious kind of title threat. Yeah, he's really going to take it to Lando, I think. And, yeah, I can't wait for the next few rounds.
Yeah, I'm the same. And, if he's 10 points off now,
Yeah,
and he was, what, 24 or something
something ridiculous.
going into
Yeah,
the weekend, so I think if he can, I want him to go to Japan and do the same thing, and I know that's horrible for everybody else,
no,
but if he does it another couple of times, where I
yeah.
just think it'll get into Lando's head, and then it's fine from there.
Yeah, I think that's the key from an Oscar perspective. That's what he has to do. He's got to just keep pushing it and just getting that little edge over the top of Lando. And if you're
Yeah,
Lando, you've really got to keep your mental capacity in check so that you can keep up with Oscar and beat Oscar. Because as soon as you kind of step away from that, or if you start getting a little like he did last year, where he kind of got a bit muddled in the brain and started making mistakes, etc. That I don't think Oscar's going to give him any opportunity to come back.
no, he's very Prost-like in that
Yes,
way. Like
Professor. Yes.
he is, but he's almost a combination of Senna and Prost, because while I would still agree that Lando has that last tenth here and there, I just like I just he's so cool and calculated, and it just doesn't phase him, and he's yeah
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be a hard one for Lando if Oscar starts a roll, in my professional opinion, which is not professional at all.
Yep. I've got your 2 cents worth. It's all good.
Good.
Well, on some other, we're talking about some of the, I guess, unpredictable nature of this season so far. How about Haas? From zero to hero almost.
Where was that in Melbourne?
Yeah.
Where was that in Melbourne? Right? That was like the car looked so horrible, what, a week prior,
Yeah.
and suddenly a smooth track and the car's fast. Now that begs the question then, is it just a smooth track thing? And how competitive are they going to be throughout the season if they
Yeah.
have to rely on a completely smooth track to get
Yeah.
that performance?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's part of the unknowns at the moment. We just don't really have a read because they were so bad and then so good. I'm hoping they can kind of keep it going, because it's always good. That mid pack is always like really squashed up now with everyone really in contention. So
Yep.
it just means that there's more drama happening.
And
Um,
I'll go like give Ocon his dues, because he
yeah,
drove an extremely good race.
yeah,
But what is your take on this Chow thing, and the fact that I don't know if he was made to apologise, Behrman, or not,
oh,
but why apologise?
I
Like, it's not even offensive.
I have no idea. I love it. Like, it's
Yeah,
obviously, even if it's just like if it's an arrogance thing, I still think it's perfectly okay.
yeah,
You've beaten someone. You've finally got past them. So what?
yeah.
I mean, sometimes we've seen, Lawson, his move on Perez. He was more than a chow, right? So
Just stuck his finger up.
correct. But in the end, Behrman got eighth. You know, so
Yeah.
you know, who's having the last laugh and having to, if he has apologized, I didn't actually hear that, but geez, that really upsets me because I just think we are
I know.
sanitizing too much. We really are sanitizing too much at the moment.
It's part of his character. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying ciao to somebody as you go past them. Like, you got the upper hand, you got the move done. You should
Yeah,
be happy with yourself.
why
Why
not?
not say ciao?
Yeah,
It's not like he jumped on the wire and said, haha, beep. Like, he just said ciao.
just doing the old, the Mr. Beans,
I
Yeah,
know, I know.
um, so
I'm with you on
inoffensive.
that.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
inoffensive. But and look, I guess they had a really strong race from a strategy point of view.
yeah.
Like, let's not talk about how bad Ferrari are at strategy, but what the hell was going on in the racing balls, mate? It's like I still don't think I can explain what they were thinking.
Um,
Okay, neither can Steve.
so this is a trend, right? And this
Yeah,
is the frustration I had with the Danny Rick stuff because a lot of the um,
yeah,
Ricardo issue wasn't always down to Ricardo. It was a lot down to their strategy calls and what they were doing or
yeah,
trying to do. And again, in this instance, right, you had two cars that were competitive. And can I just say that Hadjar is doing an amazing job? I know he
yeah,
dropped it in Melbourne, but honestly, the kid's got so much speed for a kid that's just jumped in the car and is pacing Tsunoda. I just think that's incredible.
what a
Um,
recovery after Melbourne, right?
Oh, unbelievable. And then you have this situation where you have two cars in competitive positions. You could easily split it if you weren't sure. And you're like, you know what, let's go one with two stops and see what happens.
Yeah,
And the other will just run to the end. And at least we'll get points or theoretically get points off one.
yeah,
But they just put all their eggs into that one basket. And the only other person who decided to go two stops was Ferrari. Never follow Ferrari.
no, no,
So, so I don't know. I think it's silly. I think they need to actually really start to work on those one percenters, the strategies and so forth to ensure that these types of things don't happen because they should have been in the points and maybe they would have been knocked out by the houses or whatever, but they should have been closer than they were.
yeah. They should have at least had one car in, and
Yeah.
if they had split the strategy, it's pretty like it's a fair guess, especially with the DQs, that they would have ended up with one car getting some points, and they're just not converting on a car that seems to have pretty good pace. I mean, the qualifying
Yeah.
effort from Hadjar was amazing. Just
Incredible.
well played to him, but yeah, to end up just outside the points, I mean that's pretty disappointing.
And I mean, we'll talk about the rookies soon, but just to all the rookies really at the moment, their qualifying performances so far have all been really good. Like all on pace,
Yep.
pushing or beating their teammates that have been in there for longer.
Yep.
And I think that's so fresh to see. Like it's nice to see.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, other people that seem to be, we'll go from teams to drivers. Yeah, what's happened to poor old Fernando? I mean, he's getting towed by Stroll.
I don't think he's getting down by Stroll. That's not fair. Look, the mistake. Well,
The
he turned
points
up in
say
Melbourne,
different.
and yeah, so it's a contrasting thing where Stroll's managed to keep the car on the island, and Alonso dropped it in Melbourne due to a bunch of gravel on the
Yeah,
track.
yeah.
And then on top of that, what did he last? A lap
Yep.
until those brakes died. Like that's
So
an issue.
someone definitely screwed up there. Like it just has to be.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
So there's a bit to unfold in that one. I don't think Alonso's lost any of his pace, and I definitely don't think Stroll's coming along to be better. Although I did see a quote. I think it was an actual quote from Stroll that he said, "Put me in in Max's car last year, and he'd be finishing P2. And if that's an
Is that?
actual
Do you think that's
quote,
a call out? Because maybe he's under the pump in his current job. I don't know.
I don't know, but if that's an actual quote, damn man. I mean, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
Stick to tennis, mate.
Okay, let's move on to Williams then, shall we?
Oh, we won't get in trouble for that, will we?
Nah, no, not at all. No, no one's hunting us down. It's all good.
No one's watching.
No, yeah, that's right. Like a double points finish for the two Williams drivers. Great to see.
Yeah.
I think Albon really just seems to have taken that next step up, in my opinion.
Yeah, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done really well. What are your thoughts on how Saints is going?
I think he needs a lot of time in that car. I think, like Lewis's. I know Lewis had a better weekend, but Sainz is really struggling to come to grips, and I really think he needed Melbourne.
Yeah.
And not to have that spike and fence it. He needed that to acclimatise, because going into a sprint race after that is bloody difficult. So we'll see how he goes in Japan. I expect that he'll be on top of it soon. He's not miles away. Like,
Nah.
you're talking like a 10th or something, but in that midfield, if you're a 10th off,
Yeah.
it's like 3 or 4 places.
Yeah, it puts you really back behind a few people, and then you're always in that trouble, in that zone, right?
Yeah.
And you're right, like, on top of that for Saints, moving to a new team, but then you start thinking about even the rookies. Like, I think I might be right in saying that none of the rookies had raced at China at all, or if there was one person that they had done it in a different type of car. And then to have that as a sprint round, I think it's just been crazy, the start that they've had to endure, the crazy weather from Melbourne, and that, throwing a big curveball, and then you just go straight into a sprint round where you've got, no or lack of testing really for them to get comfortable in the car, straight into a race. I've been really super impressed with anybody that's like Saints that's had to move, but more impressed with just how the rookies are going. And so I guess that might just take us through now to our rookie watch, and I guess just having a quick look of how everybody's going.
Yeah, for sure. Have you put your rookie watch slideshow thing on?
I just did.
Oh,
Thanks.
well done, Damo.
Stop checking in on me.
Yes. Someone's got to. So we'll start with Kimi Antonelli. Now,
Yeah.
I'm really impressed so far with the measured approach that he's taken this year.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think it's a very measured approach. But how on earth did that guy get drive of the day?
Not sure. Yeah, sometimes there's these weird spikes that happen. Maybe it's just like the time zone. Like it worked well for Italy. I don't know. It felt oddly strange. Whilst it was not out of the ballpark, being a rookie, getting a great finish, right? I think it was still worthwhile saying well done on the 6th. But yeah, I'm not sure drive of the day.
I mean, let's be honest. If the Ferraris don't get DQ'd, he's finished 8th. He qualified 8th. That's not the drive of the day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Ocon.
Yeah. How did he miss
drive
out?
of the day. That's drive of the day. And I don't even really like Esty Bestie that much. But that was drive of the day.
and Oscar's suffering a little bit of the Max Verstappen's, where you just kind of go and get shit done. You end up out the front, and nobody wants to recognise you as driver of the day, right? So
no, that's it. That's it.
But yeah, he has been, I would say, probably my pick of. I thought after that incident that he had last year when he had that spin in parabolica, he was just pushing too much, but he has really taken the advice and stepped back a little bit. And he's well measured. He's still got the pace. And I would be a little bit worried if I was George. George kind of lucked into a little bit where he finished. But, I think Kimi's been doing a great job.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. And he's just got to keep that and keep moving forward every step of the way. And I have no doubt in a year or probably a couple of years he'll
Yeah.
start to really challenge and be a pain in the ass
Yeah.
for everyone.
If he's got a good
So
car, he's definitely going to be up there. Yeah.
that's exactly it. So Davo, one closer to home.
Yeah.
Now I got mixed feelings on this, but Jack Doohan, I reckon his qualifying is excellent, but the racecraft is just missing slightly at the moment.
Yeah, I'd say, to use the old his dad's phrase, he's doing okay. He's not great. He's not bad. I think you're right. He's showing that he actually has like some good skills, but the racing part of it is where rookies seem to get uncovered, and at the moment he's probably showing a little bit too much. I think he showed some good stuff in Melbourne, good, not great, and I think it's the same thing. Um,
He's close to Gasly, and I really think that's the big takeaway.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So for me, like, if he can be close, like I think I said at the start of the year, if he can be close-ish to Gasly, then he should be fine. And he is. He's just got to tidy up those overtakes and small things like that, and it'll go a long way for him securing that drive. And I think obviously we've had Lawson having an interesting one, which we'll get to.
Yep.
But that's taken probably a bit of pressure off him too, because nobody's really too focused on him.
Yeah.
Just yet.
Yeah, I think that's you're probably right. I think that there's other rookies that are doing worse, and so he's able to fly a little bit under the radar. But you're right, he's matching. Well, technically, he beat Gasly, right? So so he's doing pretty well. We did touch on Isaac a little bit earlier. Just we're impressed with that quality. He's matching with Yuki, so that's it was just the poor strategy. I think that where he just missed out on possibly some points.
I think he should have points against his name, and I think he came into this season, and every report that I read around the joint was saying that he was undercooked and not ready for F1. What a mate! That kid is more than ready for F1. He has plenty of speed. He is calculated in how he drives. He doesn't seem to throw it off the road or do anything silly. And literally the only thing that kept him from getting a point was strategy. Yep. I just think he's blown my mind this year so far. And, I'm not usually a French driver type guy, but, I might be. I might be coming around, Damo.
Oh, dear. Okay. Well, let's talk about my mate Portello.
Portello?
For those that missed it last week, yes, mispronounced the name, and so now as I said, I always do think of the drink Portello. But how's Bortoletto?
A little bit quieter this week, but Stake sort of got back into their hole. So as we see, when these cars can be maximised, let's say, on a track, their natural ground is towards the back of the grid. But I'm still suitably impressed because he takes it to Hulk every session. And again, he made a slight mistake at the start of the race. He got a bit too close or a bit too keen at the very beginning.
The red mist.
The red mist, and look, he didn't run into anyone. He just he had a slide off as a result. And I think it's just a learning phase for him. But he's showing plenty of speed. And again, he was one that was questioned, even though he'd won the F3 and F2 championship. They said that the people that he was against weren't, high caliber individuals. Well, I disagree, because he's showing that he can more or less take them on if the car is right and the circumstances are right. So,
and
again, suitably impressed.
Like the other rookies that we've sort of been talking about, seems to be taking enough to his teammate to kind of stay in the mix and to be, well worthy of where they are. So, Hulk obviously did really well last round, but
Yep.
but he really did just step up, and I think he's just made, considering how we think how slow that car is, he's done a
Yeah.
great job.
Yeah, and look, I also will take this moment for Steak Kick F1 Sauber, just
Nice.
to, just to say it's good to see a little progress, right?
Yeah.
It's not huge progress, but it's good to see some progress.
Yeah.
And what I think I said at the start, when we sort of led into the season, is I wanted to see them actually start making moves and moving forward, because they need to understand everything coming into next year as Audi,
Yeah.
and they need to get the processes right. And it does seem
100%.
like that some of that is happening. So, you know, a little bit of a tick to them, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty easy to have progress when you finish where you did last year too. But having said that, it's not just
True.
progress off the bottom; it's actual
No,
progress that the drivers and the car seems to be better balanced, better pace. So, you know,
yep,
it's a good outcome. And then
it is.
bit of redemption for Ollie Behrman.
Mr. Behrman had an absolute nightmare in Melbourne.
Yeah,
Couldn't have gone any worse, I don't think, if he tried. Um, and yeah, drove perfectly well over the weekend. Car was
yep.
in its window, and he showcased yet again that when everything is going right, he can net a result. And who would have thought that Haas would have a
Oh,
double points finish
no,
here after what occurred in
oh,
Melbourne?
no, I know. We touched on it earlier, but just
I
jeepers
know.
creepers. How do you predict anything when you have such yin and yang versions of results? So,
I know. It's absolute crazy and mayhem, but it's good to see. I like to see it mixed up,
yeah,
and that's what we're getting a little bit of, which is good.
yeah, it is. Well, that gives us then time, as I run the graphic. How do we go with our predictions?
Oh,
And if I could just skip over and we'll go on to the Liam Lawson news.
no, 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 no! Come on, back it up a little bit.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
want,
All
I
right.
just want to hear who got pole, Damo.
Hamilton for the sprint race.
For the raw
Uh,
race, Damo.
yeah, Oscar Piastri might have snagged that.
Oh, what did I say? He was going to have a standout performance. Who won the race, Damo?
Oscar Piastri.
Oh, that's 2 points for me. Not that we're
uh,
actually keeping a tally, but hey, who
yeah,
says I can't wheel?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you got the next two wrong anyway, so
we're not talking about that. That's not important.
No, no. Well done, well done. Yeah, I said that it'd be surprising that Verstappen doesn't step up, and he doesn't like to lose. But it's really apparent. That's probably one that we've got a better read on. It's really
Yeah,
apparent that Verstappen is just wheeling that car beyond its capacity. Pardon
yeah.
me. And then I thought he was going to grab pole and take a win, but kudos. It's definitely going to be a lot of McLaren, a lot of papaya in our predictions and our next votes because
Yeah,
I
I
can't
would
see
say
us
so.
being off the podium much at all.
No, they seem to have a car that works both, like, in both circumstances. So we'll see. I mean, Japan's going to be very interesting because
Yeah.
it's an older track,
Yep.
and they have quirks. So, but yeah, no, I agree. Verstappen is not loving that car. He keeps asking for more point, and now they've gone too far.
Yeah, well, someone's got too much point, and it's certainly, Verstappen seems to be able to manage it. And, Christian
Yep.
Horner came out very strong, saying, "Oh, we don't make a car for Max, but when Max asks for stuff,
Shit.
we make it
Oh,
happen."
sorry.
It's just like, all right, buddy, all right, mate. But just quickly before we get on to the bigger story about Liam Lawson,
Mm.
George Russell. I've got to say kudos. When we had our year predictions at the start of the year, I said, Mercedes are just good in cold weather. So we don't have a read, and I just don't think they're going to be that good. I'm pretty confident I'm wrong now because although we haven't had super hot weather, they just seem to be getting it done, and they seem to have pretty good pace. So they've really stepped up. Yeah, really stepped up.
Seem so much more consistent now. Now I don't think they have the out and out pace of the McLarens at all, but they're definitely at this given point more consistent than the Ferraris, and and you always know Max is going to be there regardless of whether the car's a ship or a submarine or whatever it turns up looking like. But I think George is making hay while he can, and doing well. And before we do skip on to that even bigger news, I just want to shout out to a few blokes that, and I should have taken their names down, but I didn't, just on Twitter, who I had a little bit of a debate with, where they were saying that McLaren were about to lose all their pace because of the mini DRS that they were going to lose. Well, buddy, they didn't have to change anything because there was nothing wrong with the car. But you know who did? Alpine. Alpine had to change a lot of things. So maybe before you shoot off and say McLaren's all cheating and all this and all that, just calm your farm, because it's not always the case.
No, and we're all armchair experts, but
100%.
Sometimes you can slap back with a bit of a, well, actually, we found that McLaren is fine.
Correct. And look, we could still get to round 9. I think it's round 9 that we're making the change, but get beyond that, and they could come back to the pack. I am not stating that they might not, but I still maintain whatever is in that McLaren has got nothing to do with those flexi wings right now.
Yes. All right. Well, don't really have a graphic, so maybe I'll just run the rookie watch one again, because it is time to address the big news that has dropped. And I've hit the wrong slide. There's another one. Good work, bro.
Come on, Lawson, pick it up.
Yeah. Well, Liam Lawson. So the news has dropped, as he has been dropped from Red Bull. And they're going to drop the old Yuki into that seat and push him back to the Racing Bulls. Now, before we get into some of the detail, I want you to make a prediction. Will he beat Yuki in the Racing Bulls, or will he be behind in the Racing Bulls? Because I think... you go. He'll be in front. Yeah, I reckon he is too. I reckon he's going to go back. And that car's going to be better.
Lawson might actually score points if the strategy's right.
Yep. And that should say everything to, I guess, some of that makeup. The Red Bull constantly have this problem where they're not making the right kind of car for majority of drivers. And it puts them in a conundrum because they have to provide Max with the best car that he can, because Max will get the result. But it just dooms the second driver. Yeah.
And that's exactly it. Now, I'm not saying that Lawson is performing. He's not. It's quite evident that car and him are not going to gel anytime soon. But I will put an asterisk next to this. This is harsh.
Yeah.
Because the first 2 races of the year, Lawson has never been to.
Correct.
Ever. Yep. Not in any other formula, any other event. He literally has turned up. Now, mixed conditions in Melbourne make it extremely difficult, plus a different aero imbalance, which we touched on last pod.
Correct.
Then we go to China, which he doesn't know either, and he's already running around chasing his tail with a different aero setup and trying to get the car right, trying to learn the track. It's a sprint round, so you don't really get much time before you're actually just racing. Everything says to me that this is too soon. And they needed to be a 6 month, well, not even 6 month, like 6 race clause, something like that, once he's had a few that he actually knows, and
Yeah.
then make the decision. Now, I understand they're bleeding, but they're not bleeding because of Lawson.
No.
They're bleeding because they've built a shit car.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's the car is just not good enough. The metrics that we spoke about and you just said then were different aero, never been to the track, sprint weekend. There's so many things that are kind of unfairly against him. And yes, he still is underperforming. No, like you can't say.
No question.
But to drop a driver, and I guess what my fear is that I really hope he can actually beat Yuki in the main car, because I don't want him to be another one of those drivers that they just destroy. And you know that's the end of him, because
that's the fear.
Yeah, that he is a good driver. We've seen him perform at the right time, so he has been able to deliver. And clearly, right now, the car is so bad, and the other circumstances, it's unfair, in my opinion, to kind of do that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's 2 races. Come on.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I just heard prior to coming on here, which really got my goat, was is it Kim Illman? That's the photographer.
Yeah, the F1 Aussie F1 for photographer.
Yep. He just put up a post or a video earlier today, and has stated that the German tabloid that actually dropped the news that this would be happening did so prior to Liam being notified. So that means that he's probably found out
before officially finding out.
And that gets my goat. And I'm not having a go at the tabloid for it. I'm having a go at the team for allowing the information out prior to actually correctly doing it in-house. And this happens so often with Red Bull. I feel like there's been other instances where this has happened with like Ricardo and a few, and it just gets my goat. Like, just talk to your people, right, and inform them of what's happening. That's all.
I don't know what to say. If that's true, it's just more of the same. It's just not they're not a people first team. They really are all about individuals and all about, making sure they're protecting themselves. And clearly someone in that team has dropped that information. Or the only caveat I'll say, that if there was a press release that outlet has broken embargo, then that is on them. But other than that, it just happens, you're right, too often with Red Bull.
Yeah. So hopefully they can do better in the future. I doubt they will.
Yeah, probably not. So we've sort of touched on the fact that we think that Max is just basically a god, and as far as I'm concerned, he's got to be one of the best drivers, not ever, but definitely this time.
Yeah.
How does Yuki go against the best driver?
Not well.
Yeah.
I like Yuki. I have no qualms with him at all, but he is similar to Liam Lawson. So why would you believe that he's going to be able to get any closer? I mean, there was a small rumor mill doing the rounds about Colapinto potentially trying to be brought out to go in. But at the end of the day, Yuki's gotten the nod. Now, the other thing I heard about this was that, the Yuki nod comes with a $10 million payment.
Yeah, I heard some
from
cash.
Honda.
There was that whisper, and again, Red Bull just leaking like a sieve. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm kind of okay with a bit of cash, right? If it's got to happen, but if it was a precursor, or if it was a reason for the change happening sooner than it should have, that'd be pretty disappointing. That's the only thing that I think. Yeah. It's a bit sus.
I agree. But I mean, yeah. Anyway, we know what the situation is. I don't think it's fair. I know there's a lot of people, and I got some friends included, who don't like Liam Lawson and the way he acts. And I have those sentiments. I understand that, he can be or come across a little arrogant, but I don't think the guy is actually arrogant.
No.
So, yeah, I got a lot of empathy for him at the moment. Like you, I just hope that he comes out, romps them, and we can all just bat on and realize that Red Bull has stitched him up.
Oh, it's that would be, yeah, that would be the ultimate. I think if he can beat Yuki, and it's not a shot at Yuki. I should be clear. No. It's just that Red Bull need that awakening, that slap in the face, to kind of go, yep, he's not a great driver. He's not a bad driver. He's still a great driver. And he's, there's a reason they went with him over Yuki to begin with. And so it just feels, like a bit of a waste. But,
it does.
Yeah, well, that kind of covers the big news. I guess we've got a couple of weeks now. We've got a little week break before we hit Japan.
We do.
And we are coming into kind of the last of the rounds that really work well for us in Australia.
I know they put them all at the start of the season. Well, not crying about it, because it's great to be able to watch them.
Yep.
But, oh man, it just means that the rest of the season is going to be pain.
Yeah. Well, we know, like, the American ones are always the worst, or the South Americans are the worst, right? But this one for us is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's a nice one. But yeah, looking forward to seeing a track that more of the rookies know. I think that should spice things up a little bit. And I guess I'm really looking forward to just seeing, okay, we've got another style of track with some high-speed stuff. And what does that mean for some of the cars? Like, can we start getting a bit of a read on where they're at?
Yeah, exactly. So, at the moment, the form guide is a bit everywhere, isn't it? So other than McLaren being at the top, everyone else is sort of a bit all over the shop. Hopefully we get a bit of a form guide. But I've been thinking about this, Damo. I wasn't going to say it here.
Look out, trouble. He's been thinking.
I'm over the current regulations.
Oh, okay.
The current aerodynamic regulations. They make the cars look... Sorry, I can't say that. The cars... I'll retract my previous statement. The cars do not work well. And they don't look great on track unless they're going through a high-speed corner. And I'm the idiosyncrasies that have come from this generation of car, it's just ruined and stuffed so many, because they have to be in such a window for them to operate effectively. And I am hoping that next year, with the new regulations, that we can get back to a little bit more of what I would perceive as normal driving, and not what we currently have. I think I'm a bit done with the current regs.
Well, as we there's been more whispers that have dropped, but it may be open for a bit of discussion, because there was news that they're considering, or they have asked teams about going back to a V10.
Yeah, they have.
So, the aero could be up for a bit of debate, a bit of change, but what's your thoughts on going back to the glorious sound of a V10?
Well, I'm not going to complain.
Good.
But AVL did.
I can't. AVL, Andrew Van Leeuwen from Speed Cafe, he was like, I love it, but it's going to be too loud, and then you can't talk to people, and he loves the social aspect. It's just like,
I was so tempted to message him on X and say, all right, Boomer, settle down.
Yeah.
Come on, mate. Are you that old? Oh, my ears might hurt. It's not very social. It's F1. It's not meant to be social. You want social? Go to a pub. Watch it on TV. Don't go to the actual race. It's not meant to be. I never had a problem with the V8s and V10s screaming around when I was there.
No. I think I think it would be good. They're not going to be as loud as the old ones anyway because of the
Nah.
recovery systems anyway, right? So
Yeah.
they will be, but just that different note, And right now,
Yeah.
the one thing that I do miss is when you are in the city, I don't at the moment, but in those early days, I was always working in the city,
Yeah.
and just hearing the sound reverberate all the way into the CBD, whatever it is, like
Nice.
5 kilometers away or something,
Yeah.
was something that you just got excited. It was like, oh, the race weekend's on. They're out. I'm stuck at work on the Friday, sorry, and it was just exciting, and you don't get that
Mate.
at the moment. That you don't have that kind of energy or that sound reverberating to sort of get you excited. So I'm all for it. I hope they do.
I mean, I mean, you're talking about being in the city. I remember standing in Collingwood,
Yeah.
right, and hearing them.
Bah,
That's
bah.
how loud they
Yeah,
were.
it was so
And
good.
it's just amazing. And the one thing, so our brother-in-law, Gregory, he went to the Grand Prix this year for the first time in a really long time. And the last time that he was there, they were screaming V10s,
Yeah.
right? And the thing that he said to me the other day was,
What's
I
happening?
didn't have to wear earplugs.
Yeah.
He goes, the F2s came out, I had to wear earplugs. The
Yes.
F1s came out, and I was like, oh,
All right.
okay.
Yeah.
That's different. And I just, yeah, I think I'm for it. I
Yep.
think it's a great idea. I think it will also mean that it's much cheaper to produce the engines, because I think that's the biggest problem with the current generation is that they are just massively expensive to develop. But they have already had Audi putting up the stoppers on the V10 talk because they've just spent truckloads of cash trying to develop an engine.
That's the biggest roadblock, right? Is that
Yeah.
you've put out the regs. A lot of these companies, particularly Audi, but all the teams have put investment in.
So much cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's unlikely to get up, but it would be nice. It would be nice.
It would. Look, if it can't get up for 2028 as they were proposing, maybe 2030 or something.
Yeah,
is
the
a
next
good way
round
to go.
would be the logical step, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think just in the last note, we're kind of wrapped up on the F1 stuff there. Let's do a bit of supercar news. I'll just do a bit of a review of the news because there's just a few things that kind of dropped that, as per usual, were just a little... Well, they went through the news, but they just didn't seem to get much traction. But Shane Howard, the CEO...
Yes.
He's gone, but not gone. Hang on. What's with these headlines saying people are gone and they're not really gone? You know what I mean? Yeah, he's basically kind of, they're saying they've redone his role, and they're changing it.
Oh.
So moving him down from a CEO, and I'm just going to find to the...
No. I've just gone to Speed Cafe.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't actually see this one. So it says Shane Howard's sidestep mean what Shane Howard's sidestep means for supercars. So
yeah.
What do you... the last thing that I read was that he was gone.
Yeah, well, that's what we all thought. But then the real news is that they're trying to align his skills, and they don't feel his skills suit the CEO role, and they're moving him into something that's basically going to be I think it's I can't find it in the article, of course, but it's something about he'll be the motorsport director. So he will be responsible for really working with Toyota to make sure that side of it kind of works beautifully. He's going to be more around, so less around the marketing, the promotion, some of the business side of it. They're going to find someone else to do that, and then push him down into more about the motorsport feel. So it was a little strange because when you don't get the time to read an article, and this is just par for the course these days, that the way some of the headlines were, I thought he was just gone.
It's it's very interesting. This
Yeah.
there's really they've had a like because what was it? It was Tim Watsford that left for the NRL.
Yep.
Um, and he was highly regarded to take over. Um,
Correct.
from what I heard, so
And apparently
they've lost him.
would have been good for their role, but yeah, they lost him, and then this decision. In
They're
typical
fumbling a bit.
supercars style, they said it wasn't because of this, but just bad timing. It's hard to believe them. Yeah,
Are you saying you don't trust them, Damien?
I do not. I do not. They've shown time and time again that they can't be trusted because they, for some reason, they can't. They can't. They don't understand how transparency works. They think they're giving away too much information.
Yep.
But in essence, if it was a recipe, you have to be the chef that can only make it in the special way, and that's what their job is. And so you can share the recipe with everyone else, and they can try and make it themselves. But we need to know what's going on more. And they did so well where they started opening up a little bit more, and there was some things they were sharing, through the Tim Edwards stuff with the dyno, the wind
Yeah.
tunnel. Like they were really sharing it with the punters.
Yep.
And yeah, it just seems that this one is a little bit of a cover story, in my opinion. But you know,
It's hard, isn't it?
yeah,
Like I think what they're confused about, we often, we want transparency and we want them to talk to us and to have, a level of input from the fans,
yep,
in the direction of the sport that we all love. And the reason we get fired up is because we do love it.
yeah,
But they seem to do it the wrong way. And I think that's just a common thing in Australia.
yeah,
Like we just don't do things well at the top. We're not open. We're not transparent. We tell people what we think we want or what they. Sorry, we tell people
yep,
what they think they want to hear, but they don't actually want to hear that. They just
yeah,
want an open dialogue, basically, of what's happening, what the vision is, and how that's going to be executed, essentially.
yeah. They're just not in a modern age where there's so much information around that people can find stuff out. People know things,
Yeah,
and if you try and hide too much, it's
you
it
found out
is.
fast.
Yeah, you get found out.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that pans out, and they're obviously on the hunt for someone to replace him. So, fingers crossed that can be someone that can front up to the cameras, be a bit more progressive in terms of a modern kind of style of leadership, and maybe we'll
Yep.
get what we're asking for.
Quite possibly.
But
Quite possibly.
if you haven't had the time to listen to the Apex Hunters podcast with the two gentlemen that are part owners in Red Bull Racing,
Yep.
yeah, well worth a listen because it really opens up, and I am convinced that we should uh, find some time for us to actually record a video, sort of commenting on some of the stuff that happens in there. So I'd love to do that at some point if
Yeah.
we can work that out, mate. But geez, there's so
Yeah.
much good stuff in there.
There's a lot, and they released another one today.
Yeah, Scotty
Like
Mack.
their interview with Scotty Mack, and again, a lot of insight and what they're doing really well, and what I think has led them to do exceptionally well right
Yep.
now is they are basically just pub talk consistently. Like
Yep.
it's not a formal interview by supercars or anything like that. They are
Yep.
just these independent guys who go racing, and just want to relay that to everyone, how it works, how they work, how they think.
Yep.
And then when they get people on, like Scotty Mack and the two gentlemen who are heavily involved with Triple Eight, some of the stuff that comes out, it's like Peter Addison in a
Yeah.
sense. Like it's just honest truths and discussion, and
Yeah.
it's great. Like it's awesome. I mean, I'd love to have that link up with a few of them, but
Yeah.
it is just awesome that they have brought this to us because this sport's been screaming for it for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. All right, last couple of things. Real quick one. Good news. Tassie Simmons Plains locked in for another 3 years. That's great
That's
news.
awesome.
It's obviously a very short track, and we can play the drinking game with Scaife and Kroptov. It's a short track, really heavy braking at the hairpin, all the usual stuff. But
It's a droop.
yeah, we do love Simmons Plains. So good that that's back on.
Yeah.
But nothing screams I've won the homologation team like a business owner going, I'm going to step aside my racing in the drags because I've got too much on at the moment.
No, that doesn't. Nah. Come on, Dave. You're stretching on that one.
All right, sorry, my bad. Happy to be wrong again, but it
No, I
definitely.
think you're spot on, mate.
Yeah.
I can't see this playing out any other way because Roland has his fingers in it up to his nutsack. And yeah, I think we will hear sooner rather than later that Premier is the homologation team past this year. So
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably good news, and they're probably the only ones that really can do it other than MSR, but I don't think MSR want to take that on anyway. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's the right way forward.
Yeah. I think, ultimately it was always down to them or Team 18, or if the Groves did switch. But yeah, it's just gotten sharper and sharper. All the rumours are pointing towards him, and that's just another one to kind of, okay, how many tick boxes do we need before the announcement's made? Yeah,
Yep.
I'm sure that's going to be imminent, coming up pretty soon, I think.
I think, and just before we do jiff off into the wondrous world of nothingness,
Right.
Van Gisbergen,
Yeah. He's...
man, he's having a rough trot.
Yeah,
This-
so was there like
this
something on the was it the opening lap or the parade lap or like the formation or whatever? Like something happened early on that he just got caned.
He's either getting caught up in it or the car has no pace. And
Yeah.
he for the first time he's really struggling, I think.
Yeah.
So I think the team needs to lift their game, because we all know that if that car is anywhere near right, Shane will hustle it to the front. So yeah, very interesting, and I have no doubt that they'll get on top of it. But yeah, he's had a rough start to the Cup Series, that's for sure.
Yeah, it has had its trials and tribulations, but yeah, we'll see how they go, because it'll either be the team's not right, he'll find another home, or they'll need to lift their game, get him back up the front somewhere to get back to competing.
That's it.
Righto, mate. Well, that is the end of it. Thanks for everyone who joined. If you did watch, follow us on the socials. We keep everything up to date. We've got, obviously, another week away. Before we've got a round of V8s and F1. And so that means we'll talk some more shit next week before we do our predictions. Ooh.
We will predict how wrong we will be in Japan.
Papaya all the way for F1 and for V8s. I don't know. Who knows?
V8s are a couple of weeks away. I'm not going to worry about that.
Yeah. We'll see how we go. All right.
That's it.
Thanks, mate.
All right, mate. Thanks, everyone.
See everyone. All right. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.